Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're on what is technically the third dev server for updates groundbreaking, which is normally not something you see, but there has been a third dev server time in the past for an update before, so it is kind of nice to see it make a return. This is a little dev server which has a few of the new vehicles coming, predominantly the two Israeli vehicles that are coming when it comes to the next update, and a few others we'll get into too. Since this is the first video that you'll see out of the batch of videos on the third dev server, a reminder that when it comes to this stuff, all of it is subject to change. The first vehicle that is on this, or that is new on this dev server I should say, is the A4E Late, the Israeli variant. And a lot of people have been asking me about what the Israeli tech tree looks like and what's coming. Obviously not reading the news at all. There isn't an Israeli tech tree. What they're doing is they're doing what they've done in the past when it comes to Sweden, Italy and many other nations, where they're releasing premiums first, and then later on they're going to bring in the tech trees. The first one being the aviation one for Israel, maybe next update, maybe not. So the A4E Late is going to be the high-tier CBT access vehicle that you can buy. It's sat at 8.7 in realistic and has access to a decent amount of bells and whistles on it. It does have access to countermeasures. The main difference between this, the A4E, and the one in the other tech tree for America is the tail is slightly different on it, and also at the same time the actual secondary weapons are different. So this one does not get access to the AGMs in the form of the bullpups. Instead, what it gets access to is the walleyes, the AGM 62As. These are the same ones that you'll find on the A7E in the tech tree when it is added. It also has other bomb loads such as the 1000 pounders, 750s, and a ton of different rockets as well. So you can bomb a base. It does have access to the same mechanics as the A4E from the American tech tree, so it has the CCRP. So you can line up the bombs with a base and then auto drop them basically by hitting the button. It's actually really fun and really easy to play. Great for being able to passively grind. It doesn't have access to gun CCIP or rocket CCIP though. I don't know if it will in the future. It just doesn't right now. It does have access to an RWR and a radar though, which is quite nice. It has a really weird fuel tank, and then the engine is the Pratt & Whitney J52 P6A with 3,470 kgf. When it comes to the missiles that this thing has access to, they are just AIM-9Bs at the moment, so nothing different. It can get a gun pod though with a 20mm, which is pretty cool, but the main primary armament on this thing is actually two 30mm Defers, so that makes it different from the 20mm that you have in the American tech tree. And also there's more ammunition, so there's two 30mm Defers and they have 300 rounds of ammunition, so a ton of ammunition with 150 per gun. Going to be really cool for ground striking and also really cool for other things as well. So a lot to look forward to and a lot to see when it comes to it. At the same time, when it comes to the armor, there's a little bit on the front to try and keep the pilot protected, but this thing is mainly going to be a ground pounder. I've spaded the A4E and A4B in the American tech tree. They're definitely not vehicles that do great in a dogfight role. Basically, you have to catch out of the strike fighters, and that's really about it with the missiles. But having only two AIM-9Bs is a bit rough. The Defers are going to be absolutely beautiful though. The other plane is a Spitfire, the LF Mk, the Weizmann one, and this is just an LF Mk, which is very similar to the one in the British tech tree. Has access to, of course, the Rolls-Royce Merlin 66 with 1982 horsepower. Then you obviously have the pilot, and the guns it has are two 20mm Hispano Mark IIs, which after the correction they had when it came to the hit registration, all of that over the years, have become much more powerful. Then it also has access to two 12.7 M2 Brownings with 520 rounds of ammo. This thing doesn't have the most ammunition compared to other vehicles at the BR, but it is completely fine. It can tear apart pretty much any anything it can fly. I really enjoy flying the Spitfires in the game. They are fantastic air superiority fighters, incredibly fun, and having kind of a late tier Merlin fighter in the Israeli tree is really, really cool. At the same time, it does have access to some interesting secondaries, so you do get 250-pound bombs, and also these FLZ Raket Orlikan rockets. These things have a not huge explosive mass at only 1 kilogram, but do pen up to 300 millimeters. So they'll go through pretty much everything that you attack with them. At the same time as well, it does it fires them individually. So you fire one on one side and one on the other. Then it just keeps doing that over and over and over again, which is quite lovely on it. And also this thing does have the 150 octane fuel and the engine injection, so it's going to get the most out of it, which is really nice too. One of the other vehicles that has finally graced us in the tech trees is the Mi-28NM, which is a vehicle that we've talked about a few times when it comes to the dev server. It's been slowly updated over the last few dev servers, and finally now it's in the tech tree. It is after the Mi-28N, so just straight after it, and the chrysanthemum missiles that it has are still not fully modeled. You know, they're the green ones, as you can see, so I'm sure they'll get sorted. Just remember when it comes to these things that you know, the dev server is not final and all that wonderful stuff. Modifications wise, it has access to the missile approach warning system, the automatic flare ejector, as I like to call it. It does have access to thermals as well, and also the attacker missiles and the chrysanthemum missiles, plus the gun pods. So this thing has pretty much all you'd want it to have. This is going to be an insane machine when it comes to the game. Probably still not as good as the K50 and K52. But I'll give you a look at the cockpit. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do a video about it. There are the guns, by the way. If you want to bring the gun pods, you've obviously got the gunner view here with the standard chain gun it has. Then you have the missile view as well. You can see how limited it is right now, actually, for some reason. That's a little bit rough on it, but you can still target stuff. And obviously fire the chrysanthemum missiles, which are insanely fast, and annihilate targets as they go. Should be very fun to deal with. As I said, not probably as strong as the K52 stuff and the K50 stuff, but still pretty decent at the end of the day. These vehicles get easier and easier to play as you come along, so yeah, it's not a surprise to see another one that is stupidly easy to play. This is what the cockpit looks like. You do have the glass cockpit ideas as well, so you have the gunner view and also the map, so you can see what's going on. It's pretty cool. I'm very happy they added that. And there you go. Lovely stuff. So that's basically the Mi-28NM. It is just an upgraded version of the standard Mi-28 that we have, and it does have the 23mm cannon on it, or it has two sets of them. Then it has the 30mm gun in the center, which doesn't look fully modeled, but it's kind of there. The other one is for France. They did actually add that ADN4NA into the tech tree, so this one is now available. It's a GE premium, and if I can just check really quick if it will actually show me. Unfortunately, it looks like it has disappeared. But, oh no, it's not going to work. But basically, yeah, this is going to be a standard premium. It's going to cost however much. I'm sure, you know, it'll be the same as it was the other day. Exactly the same as the standard 84. The only difference really between them is the air brake that we talked about before, and obviously the skin between them. So if you want a little bit of a, you know, an up look at this thing, make sure to check the video from yesterday. Then we have two vehicles which are kind of pseudo hidden in the hangar right now. And first of all, a bunch of new ground vehicles got scoops. So the M1A1HC got itself a scoop. Then when it comes to Germany, You got the Leopard 1A5 and also the Leopard 2A4. I'm going to make a video basically showcasing all the scoops in the game. Then you got the Chrysanthema. This one actually has a pretty cool one because you can't see it, right? But it's basically this lower plate here. There's something really interesting about the Soviet vehicles. It seems like a lot of their scoops are designed so you can not see them, and then they come out. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, obviously this thing's amphibious as well. All of the scoops do work for each of the vehicles. We've tested them out. But yeah, now you can go fully hull down in the Chrysanthema, which is pretty awesome. At the same time, the BMP-3 also got its scoop with the same idea, which is this one right here. And then, when it comes to Britain, obviously, they're trying to give every nation a scoop, and right now every nation has a scoop. So Chieftain Mark III has one, Avery has one. These are all functioning, by the way. And then you've got the Type 74E and the Type 90 as well. And then China, it actually gets one on the PTZ-89. This little thing here acts as a scoop, and you can see that it has the modification too. For it. Then for Italy, Italy's is on their Leopard 1A5, so the same as the German one. France is on its AMX-40, and this one is the coolest scoop because it's got teeth on it, and I'll just show you it real quick. I think this is really awesome. But yeah, they have been able to, you know, get a scoop on each vehicle. That's the scoop on the AMX. Pretty cool. And then for the Swedish also have two vehicles with scoops. And one of them is the STRV 121, which you'll be happy about. And then the other one is the 103C. Yes, the cheese wedge has a scoop, so you can go fully hull down with this thing if you want to, if you are interested in doing that. And I'll just show you it right now. Because the scoop itself is kind of funny, because basically all of them, they fold downwards, whereas this one kind of folds upwards because of where it's sat on the machine itself. So if we just raise it up, you can see the scoop is underneath there, and it folds out instead of down. So the Swedish always have to be a bit different, don't they? And with their scoops, it's no different. Then you just dig. Make sure to... You know, make sure to look down so you get the most earth as possible. And push it forward. There we go. Now scoop up. And obviously this works better on flat ground. But there you go. You have now covered your lower plate. But on flat ground you can actually cover the whole of the tank. Which is pretty impressive. So good old scoops. They are here not just for all of the different stuff, but also the cheese wedge, which is nice. So the two kind of hidden vehicles which are sat in the files right now is one is the American vehicle, and you can see it right here. This is the T26E5. It is basically a test version of the Pershing, and I'm going to do a specific video on it, basically talking about the differences. In game right now, it's pretty much the same vehicle. Obviously, it's not finished. You can tell by the way that it looks, right? The shine on it and everything is a bit wrong. So yeah, that's a bit of a giveaway, but I'm sure it will be finished pretty soon. The gun is the same, the M3. When it comes to its mods, it doesn't actually have any ammo or anything. It doesn't have anything like that. It just has the T33 shot. So this is definitely unfinished, is the way to put it. It is nowhere near ready. But compared to the standard Pershing, it's very similar. It has pretty much the same armor values right now and everything. The only difference is that the normal Pershing actually has a volumetric on its breech, or its area around its breech, its gun mantlet, whereas this vehicle doesn't. So it instead has the covering on it. So as I said, when we do the video on it, I'll make sure to go through the actual intricacies. The other one is actually for the Chinese. And this one is very similar to the Type 59 that you have in the tech tree, but this is instead the ZTZ59A. Now, one thing you may have noticed, that T series, the T26E5, was not a premium vehicle, so that might actually be coming to a tech tree, or might even be an event vehicle. But the ZTZ59A is labeled as a premium, and its cost right now is 8,200 at rank 5 8.0. This is incredibly similar to the Type 59. It has its key characteristics, so pretty good gun, long reload, and really terrible horizontal traverse and vertical traverse, but good rounds and laser rangefinder. So it's one of those vehicles which has some really good characteristics, but some awful ones as well. So this is the other vehicle that is kind of sat in the tech tree just waiting to be used. So really cool to see this thing. And we'll have to see if they just stick it in as a premium, or if it's going to be an event vehicle, or whatever it is. You know, you can see it's not fully finished. Like, you can tell which was the Type 59 parts and which are the new parts, because the new parts are the ones which don't have the lacquer on them. So you can see, you know, you got the fuel at the back, you got the sides, and you got the gun mantler. All that's new, whereas everything else is just Type 59. It's kind of interesting to see how certain vehicles are built, right? Like, you can tell which parts are new on this thing compared to the other one. Oh, it's so weird to think about. There's two other things to mention as well. So the first one is, now they've added in that large caliber guns can actually make craters on the ground. So it's not just going to be a bomb, rocket, or cannon thing from the air. It's also going to be a thing from vehicles on the ground itself. So you can see with the FV4005, if we shoot this area over here, what you can see is it didn't do anything for some reason. But it kind of did something, but not much. Probably the angle. I got it to work before. I apologize. Let's try again. So you shoot like an area like here, then you can see that it creates like a little bit of a divot, but not really anything at the moment. You can see there's a small divot there as we go into it and out of it, but it's nothing too crazy. And obviously this gun is pretty big. You would expect it to do a little bit more, but at the same time you don't want it to be game breaking, so I understand. Maybe naval machines will be able to do more damage when it comes to these things, but at least right now, when it comes to FV4005, which is, I still believe it's the largest caliber in the game when it comes to ground vehicles, you can see it's not making huge holes. That's a better divot, just to show you what it can do. But yeah, it just makes a small little divot with the gun, and it does have its own like little physics area and stuff, which is pretty cool. So hopefully we see more of that stuff in the future with different caliber guns. So after the short interlude, there is one last thing I want to show, and that's just the Beaufighter. It's got new name, so now it's the Beaufighter Mark 1 40mm. So they've given it a specific name, and they've also made sure that the 40mm, the Rolls-Royce Type BH, has its full name as well, which is pretty good. I've got to say, when it comes to crashes on the dev server, I've had an absolute ton on this set, basically trying to leave missions and go into them. We'll see if that goes on to the live server, but I won't be too worried about it. It should be alright. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Professor X 1718, Orange Tail, Sakoshi Tiger, BRFC 15, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe A, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, and then Kyle Kin, Barine, Lafouche, and also Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.